Wanted to make a quick video to show my new, relatively new camera collection. Really loved cameras and photography back in the 70s when I was a kid. Couldn't afford much of anything, but this is where we're going to start. The first camera that I bought with my own money that I earned working all summer back in about 77 or 78. Detasseling corn, for any of you who have had the pleasure of detasseling. So I detasseled corn all summer, and I don't remember how much this cost. It was a lot at the time for me. About 150 maybe, 200 even, I'm not sure. It took a lot to get that much. It was making about $2.25 an hour, I think. $2.25 an hour. So I bought this and used it to take pictures for the yearbook in school. And I remember I took it to prom and took pictures one year when I was a 9th grader, I think. Didn't go with a date for sure. I believe I was wearing a gray corduroy suit with a vest. So yeah, this dude, still firing. Really rough winder and heavy, you know, compared to the next camera that I bought, which is this little guy. Let me set this over here for now. This I purchased, and I know exactly when it was because I was still in basic training. I was just finishing up basic training in, would have been, I believe, April of 1984. And I don't remember why I chose this. Again, it was the next time when I had enough money to actually buy something like this. I don't remember again how much it was. Probably similar, 200-ish maybe. I don't know. Honestly, just don't remember. This one here is in great shape. And I took it with me. Oh, got an on switch. Took it with me all over the world, and it got to see a lot of cool places. Mostly the time was spent in the Philippines. You can see it still has plastic on the bottom of it. Yeah, did a lot of picture taking of important people and places for me anyway. So there is that one, and it's working great. Everything on this works great. This was a great little camera. They did have an issue with the, now I've lost the word. Capacitors. They had an issue with a couple of capacitors, I believe, are down here on the bottom. Not too tough to get to, one of them anyway. But this one has not had that problem. So there it goes. Now, jump forward several decades. Like everyone else in the world, I started using digital cameras and started using the little small, easy-to-use digitals that took great pictures, you know, back in, say, early 2000s, 2005-ish. And then, of course, the cameras, the smartphones had cameras that were great. And then I think I got a digital SLR, Olympus, which is a fantastic little camera. It's almost as if photography is too easy with that camera. It takes beautiful pictures. You can go on and on forever. You all know this. With digital, you can see your results immediately. You can make corrections immediately. That little camera, I should bring it out. Maybe I'll do another video sometime. But it is an amazing little camera. It even looks, the particular model I got, I can't remember the model number on it, but it looks like a little old SLR, which is why I chose it. It has the look of the silver-topped SLRs from the 70s. So this one, a little brassy, a Nikon F. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of details on them. You can see I have a thing for lens hoods, mostly because of the aesthetic. Also, it makes it so I can leave the lens cap off and not feel as guilty. But this guy here, I also like to leave the lower case halves on them to protect those too. This one is just smooth as silk. The shutter on the Nikon F, or Nikon, which is what I'll call it half the The Nikon F is like butter, if I may. So, yeah, there's no story. I'm not going to share a story with these right now. There are stories, but I'm not going to share them. This is just a fantastic little camera. The meter is not working, which is a very common problem with these. Parts are difficult to find for them. Apparently, there's a gentleman named Wong who's a good source, but I'm not going to spend that kind of money. Here's another F that I picked up. All these I've got in the last like 2 months. I'm ashamed to say about the last 2 months. This one's in beautiful condition. Again, the shutter is just, some people love the shutter in the F2, and it is fantastic. But I think I even like the F shutter better. I don't like the placement of this button like so many people. They complain about the placement of this shutter release, and it is poorly placed. I mean, compared to this one here, your finger just kind of naturally, when you grab the camera, it's like, wait, who moved the shutter release button? It should be here, and on the F2, it is. But here, you got to kind of reach back a little bit. It's kind of awkward. I have taken to doing this with my opposable thumb. Maybe that's why we were made that way. Maybe that's what that opposable thumb is for. So yeah, of course, the meterless prisms, which were not so great when these came out, people wanted mostly, I think, meters, but now these are very sought after. So it's a beautiful little camera. I just, here's another that's basically the same thing. It's a little older. It has the Nippon Kagaku marking over here. It also is, amazingly smooth. I love this. These lenses, you can buy them for a bag of peanuts now. This shutter's not as quiet as the black one, but it's still great. Fantastic little cameras. So now on to let me turn this a little bit. On to these guys that, of course, a lot of people love, and I am really one of them. The Nikon F2. The first one, and again, these were all within I'm kind of ashamed what a terrible collector I am that I got them all so fast. But I got this one, my wife, I got her to buy it for me for my birthday, which was in March. That was about the beginning of my collecting. But this thing was just beautiful. I love this lens for, again, the worst reasons. I think it looks great. It's got quite a bit of the silver on it. I like the length of this to look at. Again, to take pictures with, I'm probably very rarely going to use these to take pictures. That's a terrible thing for me to admit, but it's true. So yeah, this one, I'm not going to take these out of the halves, but this body is about a 9.5. No signs of wear, not on the bottom. Of course, this guy isn't dented up, which tends to be a problem, especially on the F2s, I think, and especially on the black F2s. Not sure why that happens, but yeah, this one, just amazing. And I also obviously have a thing for the soft release shutter button. Unfortunately, they can go kind of high now. I'm trying to find them. If I can find one for 20 bucks, I'll buy it now. But there are people who are getting 40 for it and even more. Not sure why. So yeah, this was the first one that I got, and it is a sweetheart. So yeah, got that one. Then this one appeared locally here in Indiana. And it is apparently, since I'm the worst expert in the world, it is a Nikon F A, as denoted by this little A right here. And what you'll come to know, and most of you already know probably, is that the F2 had many iterations, and the viewfinder basically determines what they are. Now, whether they're original to that camera, that's another question. That's important to some people. To me, not so much. Again, smooth as can be. You know, I have changed, you know, put in some seals and shutter bumpers on these so that they don't smack into the, so that the mirrors don't smack close and break them eventually. But yeah, this one, the meter does work on this one just fine. I don't know if I can, doesn't really matter if I show you or not, but little arrow, little thing jumps over there. It's working. So yeah, fantastic little camera. And I didn't need it, but I thought, you know what? I may actually use that one and shoot some pictures. Well, yeah. So next, this one here, which was one of the most recent. Again, very difficult to find one that doesn't have damage here or here. This one had been monkeyed with a little bit, for sure. But a great little camera. You know, I am not going to argue with anyone trying to say that, oh yeah, you could order them with this black prism on the silver body, because I doubt that that's true. Someone put it on there and I bought it this way and I got a pretty good price on it. So I like it the way it is. I actually like this look. I prefer this to the silver with the silver prism like here, although it's also fantastic. You know, I talk about looking at it. I'm shamelessly shallow when it comes to the appearances of these. This one may be the smoothest of all. Of course, many of you know that they often will have trouble with this, and I think this one does. With this one, no, it worked there. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Amazing little machines, though. You know, I work on watches also, and these are not far from mechanical watches in their sophistication. These fully mechanical F and F2s, which is really what I like the most about them, is that they are fully mechanical, even though they do both have meters that require electricity. And the last one, certainly not least, for those of you in the know, the F2, and again, what we learned here, F2AS. And I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of things. This is one of the last ones, I think, maybe the last version of the viewfinder for this. And it has LEDs inside instead of needles. So it's a little fancier in that way. Oh, and it also, I don't know the technology, but this one was built in a way that it is much less likely to fail than the first version, I guess the DP1, this is the DP12, and this is DP11. But when they got to this one, they made some changes. Again, I'm a pathetic expert. I'm not an expert, by the way. But made some changes, and this one is a much more reliable over time viewfinder. And this viewfinder does work just great. So I bought this one locally also. It's also fantastic. When I got it, it just was not the viewfinder. Either the viewfinder wasn't working or there was some other problem. So a couple of days ago, I started educating myself on these. Bought this one locally, not working. And the seller also had said, well, you know, this self-timer doesn't work right. It goes off when I push the shutter button, but not when I push this button down here. What he didn't understand was that when you set it to timer here, it's made to be set to bulb on the shutter speed wheel. And then you do use the shutter release to trip it, and it can time out to like a 10-second open shutter, like a very long shutter. So yeah, it's a whole different thing that's going on there. If you want to just use the regular timer the way we're used to doing, you set it right in the middle and then it works as a timer that way. So yeah, this one is a great little example there. This is one of the things that I fixed, was this little LED, if you can see it. I didn't fix it. I mean, that LED means that there's now power to the viewfinder. And I'm getting ready to make a video about that experience very soon. How to get this working, because there was a problem that these F2s had. Many of you, I'm sure, know. All right, that is all for this. Kind of like a high look at all these cameras that I bought recently because I have no self-control video. Thank you.